Hey loves, it's your girl Mariah Sincere, and I am back with another bomb live. For those of y'all who do not know me, I'm a self-love coach who specializes in helping people radically transform their lives. I've been able to do it myself. At the beginning of last year, I was not happy with where I was, and I decided I wanted to move to another country. So I'm coming at y'all live from the beautiful city of Medellin, Colombia. If you need any type of personal coaching, hit me up at the email, thepassportsis@gmail.com. Guys, I will be rolling my website out soon, so be on the lookout for that. Now, today we have a very interesting live. I wanted to talk about something different. I touched on the Diddy case yesterday. I'll touch on it again tomorrow. I know y'all want to hear about Diddy, Diddy, Diddy. The thing is, the trial is going to get interesting as the days roll in. It's not popping just yet. We're not hearing all the details. So be patient with that coverage. It's coming. With that said, I am an X-Files baby. I grew up staying up at night watching the X-Files. I've seen every episode of the X-Files. I've always been interested in aliens. I've done an episode on aliens here before, and I decided I wanted to touch on that topic again, but I wanted a special guest to come help me. So without further ado, I want to welcome our guest, GMS, to the show. He does his own show, the GMS show, as well as he is the third male and one of the four members of the 3Gs podcast. So I will leave the
Yeah.
link to all of his social. This is a very smart brother. He's always on point. I always love his perspective. I love his take. So I was like, okay, I got to get him on a show so that we can have a little back and forth. I think it will be interesting.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Appreciate you for having me. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Of course.
Okay. So
I'm excited
aliens.
for this conversation because I know like I really am one of those people that don't believe that we could possibly be the only beings like in the universe. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So what leads you to believe that? What up, Sosa?
Hey, what up, Sosa?
Okay.
What leads me to believe that is because they're saying if what they're saying is true, scientists or um, astrologists, whatever you want to say, if what they're saying is true and the universe is as big as what they claim to be, I just
Mm-hmm.
feel like it wouldn't be no way that we are the only living organisms in the universe.
So you think it's a matter of probability?
Yeah, I feel like that. I
Okay.
feel like it's not, specific to what our vision of a alien would be. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't believe that there's like, big head, big eyed green individuals riding through, flying saucers to get to us or in different um planets. I feel like it's other kind of, maybe humanoid type or just or it could be uh organisms, cells, or whatever, bacteria, you know what I'm saying, floating around somewhere, but like as a community, I don't know, but I feel like it has to be something else out there that we don't know about where there's another functioning civilization. We can't be
Mm.
the only beings in the universe that have a functioning life happening right now.
Well, did you hear about? So there are several archaeologists who are kind of like outcast outliers
Mhm.
in the archaeology community because for example, we've been taught the Egyptians built the pyramids and they
Yeah.
used slaves to do it, but there have been for a few years now several hey, what up, Simo? What up? Good to see you, brother.
Hey, what up, Simo?
Ain't nobody
My
coming to
guy.
see you. They coming. They on their way. Look, people getting off work. It normally takes people a minute to kind of like file into my lives because I have a
Oh yeah.
smaller following you, but they'll come.
Oh yeah.
So there have been several archaeologists who have been coming out and they're like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. And it's they've recently, I'll pull up the clip too. They recently, this was on Joe Rogan, a guest came on and he was talking about how they recently found these like these spirals that
Spirals.
go deep down, like these spiral columns up underneath the pyramids, right? um but
Oh,
even
okay. I know
before,
what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna pull it up. But even before then, there has been pushback that humans with the technology, if we're supposed to be the most advanced civilization that ever
Hmm.
existed in terms of technology thus far, like if we are supposed
Yeah.
to be the most advanced, so thus far in human technological capability, we don't have a means to reproduce a great pyramid now,
Hmm.
even though we have better tools. We can do stuff like 3D printing, we have lasers, like we have all of this technology that should make it easier for us to build something, yet we cannot reproduce that if we wanted to today.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing about it is, that's the other weird part about it. Like, I feel like, I was speaking to one of my friends about it the other day. Like, if you believe that heaven is real, you believe that God is real, the one thing that people talk about is what type of questions they ask God. The first thing I'd ask is, what happened? How did we get here? What is all of this? Like, what does this mean? How did this, like, I definitely want to know how the pyramids got built. Like,
Hmm.
people joke with me because I'm a big guy, and they say it was my ancestors that helped build and by ancestors they mean the giants from back in the day. They believe
Oh,
it
the
was them.
Nephilim.
Yeah,
Hold
yeah,
on.
they believe it was
The
them.
Nephilim.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, yep. So I do believe that there was something, because if they believe that dinosaurs were roaming this earth, things that were larger than what we could fathom,
Come
why
on.
wouldn't why wouldn't there be anybody that was around that size or even more? I don't know. These are things that you have to question, because you don't really know. How was civilization then, and why did we succumb to being who we are today?
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's really interesting when you think about it because, like, for example, lizards and birds, they're like
Hmm.
a small version of a dinosaur, right? They
Yeah.
share a lot in common. These are like the leftover dinosaurs, these iguanas and things like that.
Right.
And it's kind of like, yeah, they're really tiny now. It is possible that like humans were giants and roamed the earth,
Hmm.
or at least you had a species, like a subset of humans that were giants, right?
Right.
And
Right.
it's not like this is not something that hasn't been talked about. I'm one of those people who I believe that if you can look across all cultures and see a thread that brings them together, some type of commonality, right?
Yeah.
Because at one point we weren't a globalist society, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of these cultures developed in, compared to today, isolation. Yes, you had people who wandered out and came into contact with each other, but I feel like if you can go back thousands and thousands of years and there are similar stories in each
Yeah.
civilization, the Great Flood is one of them,
Yep.
then there has to be some truth to it. I think that Halloween is more spiritual than what we make it out to be today. And the reason why I believe that is, again, if you go across, even if you go back to like ancient cultures here in the America, they were celebrating a kind of day of the unaliving, the same way that people in Europe were doing pre-colonization. So,
Yeah.
and you can find several stories like that throughout civilization. And what was it about that? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the times they would look to the sky, they would look to the stars, they would look to the moon, um, to give them signs and omens, right?
Yeah.
Um, I want to bring up this video. Give me a minute.
I feel like a lot of things got shifted over the years to mean something differently, as far as like the original form of certain things and how certain things started. Like, we were conditioned, of course, when we were younger, especially if you grew up in church, that Halloween was like, for the devil or celebrating the devil. Like, when I was growing up, we didn't celebrate Halloween. My mom didn't allow it until I got, I was a teenager and decided to like just start walking around, going and asking for candy because I wanted a bunch of candy and shit. So
Mm-hmm.
it was one of those things where I was disconnected from that growing up. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Till my daughter came here. You know, her mom was huge on that when they were young. So getting to, do it then, it was like a different experience. And I got to see, it was more than what the perception was or what it was being taught to me when I was younger.
That's interesting. Yeah, I always felt bad for those kids growing up
Mm-hmm.
who weren't able to go trick or treating on Halloween,
We had to go
or
to
who
church.
couldn't watch Harry Potter, or yeah, they had to go to church.
Yeah,
Oh my God!
it's
Like,
bad.
but I mean, hear me out. I think there is a spiritual component to it, right? I think there is. And I feel like modern Halloween celebrations, even though we talk about it and how spooky it is,
Mhm.
I think we don't take it seriously enough. So I think the church people get it right. And that this is a day, like this is a day where the veil is thinner between dimensions, right? I honestly
Mhm.
believe that. I believe that's why we celebrate it. I do think the veil thins. I believe in multi dimensions. And I think that, like, on the one hand, you have one side that doesn't take it seriously enough and thinks it's all fun and games, and then you have a one side that demonizes
Yeah,
it, right?
because I do
And
believe
I
in that
don't,
energy.
yeah, I believe in that energy as well. Okay, I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna like go back to the whole pyramid thing. I'm gonna play this clip from the Joe Rogan show. This is
Yeah.
very recent. Give me 1 second. This is about the new discoverings of what's under the pyramid.
Know this before PayPal holds your funds. PayPal held my funds, leaving me.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Talking of pyramids, dude, this new pyramid shit that's just come out.
Oh, this is insane. Yeah, I was going to send this to you as well, Jamie. I'll send you one of the most comprehensive breakdowns of it on X because it's quite stunning. So apparently, through the use of LiDAR, they have discovered that there are enormous structures underneath the Great Pyramid that go kilometers deep into the earth with coils. So enormous pillars, and then these coils. They don't understand what it is because they're just looking at LiDAR images. But whatever this is a uniform structure. There's several pillars. And all of this is like very, very, very weird.
Yeah, it's 600 meters descending down those cylinders, and then there's more stuff below it, and then there's additional structures inside of it. Yeah, that was crazy.
It's really crazy. There's a guy, Jay Anderson, and he did.
Okay, 600 meters. That's really deep. And they expect us to believe that Egyptian slaves built this
with no modern
what
technology in sight.
and precision, like the bricks or whatever you want to call them, the pieces of the pyramid are cut with laser precision, right? This is crazy. Let me give a few shout outs. What's up, Will's Tumbling? Good to see you, brother. What up, Jamal? Good to see y'all. Hold on, let me see what you had to say. I live where the witches were in Salem in college. Wow. Will's Tumbling. I would like to get you up here to talk about your experiences one day. Yeah, we gotta do like a supernatural ghost show one day. So there have been archaeologists who have been saying for years that like this is like just on the surface, the stuff that's on the surface is like, no, humans couldn't have possibly built this. But then to find out there are all these coils up underneath there, I honestly believe that these movies that are made in Hollywood are trying to convey a message. They're trying to tell us something without saying it. I think they try to condition us to believe that these things are fictional because they're put in movies. And I can bring up countless movies where they talked about these gods and just weird stuff going on in those pyramids. But like, I think there's genuinely weird stuff going on in these pyramids.
So you think it's like fighting fire with fire, how they do that? Like, oh, if we oversaturate the market with this type of content or this type of genre of movies, then people will be like, oh, well, why would it be real? They talk about it all the time in movies. They describe certain things that'll make you think like, oh, maybe it is real in movies. Like, how would they get away with it? Why would the government allow them to get away with it? You know what I'm saying? Type stuff like that. I used to think that as well, but I still... I had to think about it myself. Like, there's a lot of things that they blatantly do in our faces to deter certain things. Like, why would they start just now putting out classified, information?
We're gonna talk
to the
about
public?
that.
Yeah.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Like, put a pin in that, because
Oh, yeah.
I'm like with you on that line of
Mhm.
thinking. Okay, I'm with you on that. I love to see the witches in Salem. And Jamal, you funny. I don't buy the narrative about aliens in Egypt. We need to give Black people some credit. Maybe our people were just good at what they do.
Mm.
Why hasn't, okay, think about it like this, Will's tumbling. Like, we gotta like be for real here. If Black people built the pyramids, why can't they do it again?
Mm.
Like, do it again. Do it again. If we did it, do it again. And explain how it's done. Give everybody an answer. This is how and why we do it. This is exactly how we do. I need to see blueprints. I need to see a Black mind be able to reproduce this same type of technology. Like, do it again. Do it again. And that ain't no shade. I love my people. That ain't no shade. But it's not just Black people. Nobody can do it again.
I was just about to say, we can't find nobody that can replicate that. Unless it's on a small scale.
Yeah, nobody can explain it. You realize that history has been lying to us about a lot of things, which is why they took hold on Christian religion and took all the spiritual and esoteric power from it. Well, I believe that. Okay, let me continue playing the clip.
A breakdown of it. Maybe this would be good. We could play this. It makes a little more sense when someone's explaining it to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, we need somebody that's an expert here, not me and you.
Zawi Hawass, by the way, has said it's nonsense. So I don't know.
Already?
Yes. According to Graham Hancock. This is the wonderful thing about having Graham.
I texted Graham yesterday. I was like, yeah, what's going on with this?
Yeah. So click on that and go full screen, please.
How significant of a discovery this is.
Dun, dun, dun. I love the music. And geometry, so you know it's real.
You got to appreciate the dramatic intro.
Project Unity.
What has just been announced in relation to the pyramids at the Giza Plateau and the plateau itself is so incredible, so awe-inspiring and narrative shattering that I have been sitting here for the last hour trying to wrap my head around the implications of what we were just told. So this is pretty much breaking news because the new findings were announced on the 16th of March at a press conference held by the team who was studying the Great Pyramid of Giza with a non-invasive technology that was first developed by Filippo Bionde and Corrado Malanga called synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography.
Fuck, that's a
this
mouthful.
was used to explore the internal structure
talk.
of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And this method leverages the analysis of micro movements typically generated by background seismic activity to achieve a high resolution full 3D tomographic imagery of the pyramid's interior and subsurface components. The recent findings from deploying this technology are nothing short of mind-blowing, because what's been discovered is that there are huge structures coming down from the base of the pyramid deep into the bedrock. In fact, over 600 meters deep, which then connects to structures that extend up to 2 kilometers below the surface of the ground. 2 kilometers. Massive internal structures connected to the base of the pyramid and extending deep, deep down. This is what we know so far.
What does your friend think about it?
Which friend?
The one that you said it's bullshit.
Oh, that's not my friend. That's Zawi Hawass.
Okay.
Zawi Hawass is the head of antiquities in Egypt. He's like the head guy that talks to the archaeologists and gives the official narrative. In the past, he's been extremely hostile to Graham Hancock, but Graham Hancock and him have now become friends.
Oh, yes. I do
and
know this guy.
Coordinating. Graham is a lovely guy. The people that like are enemies with him just need to get to know him and hang out with him. He's a genuine, real human being who's trying to find the truth.
Yeah, for those of y'all who don't know who Graham Hancock is, he's been on the Joe Rogan show several times. And basically,
with this AI tool,
hold on, let me stop sharing this. Give me a second. So basically, He's argued on several occasions that there have been, at the very least, more advanced human civilizations, and that there have been major events or cataclysms that have completely wiped out the population. So, for example, he believes that the city of Atlantis was real and that an event called the Unger Dryas, which basically would kind of be equivalent to that of the comets with the dinosaurs, wiped these civilizations out, right? But he has argued and presented evidence that an Atlantean civilization actually did exist.
What's his name? You said Graham what?
Graham Hancock. Graham Hancock.
Okay.
You got to look him up.
Yeah.
You got to look him up. Hold on. And it's Graham like graham crackers.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you think about that?
I think for one, it's unexplainable unless you really feel like there was something else that had to have built that structure. There's no real human explanation for that. I don't know how that, like for me, understanding that and then how they got to it, how they even got to that point. Why hasn't this been something that was found out years ago? You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's another thing that I feel they kind of have been suppressing certain people from, learning more about the pyramids. I feel like more people had to be more curious to try to understand it. I think they've been putting people in the right position to give us the information that they want to give us. And then more people were interested in, okay, we need to know how this, the more research they did about it being built and it not making sense to them that humans did this, they had to feel like they needed to go deeper into this. And they found some shit that could prove that this shit is unexplainable. I don't think any humans actually were involved with doing this.
Yeah, well, there have been several archaeologists in the archaeology community who have said they have gatekeepers. They were like, there are certain areas that you used to be able to go into that are closed off now that you can't go into. There are a lot of locks put on the doors. So it's very heavily kept. Hold on. Jamal says, I think this was in reference to my saying that we can't do the pyramids again. Why don't y'all go back to medieval or hunter-gatherer living and farming and do it again?
It's a lot easier than building a goddamn pyramid.
And not just that, we still have hunter-gatherer societies. We still have these type of societies still exist. Are they as much in abundance as they were before? No, but we can still farm. We can still do all of that. We can still do all of that again. That's light work. Pyramids, no, nobody can reproduce this again. This narrative was created by white Europeans when they couldn't figure out how to do what they did. But okay, I don't think it's a race thing though, Wilt's tumbling. Because again, if it's a situation where white people couldn't figure it out, and they just didn't want to admit that Black people were smart enough to do this, then why can't we do it again?
Yeah.
Just prove them wrong. Just show people we can do this. Where are the Black minds that can create this? And I don't even think it's necessarily a matter of intelligence. We don't have the technology to do this.
I don't think nobody does built that far into the ground in America.
Yeah, and you said what?
I don't think that there's anything built that far into the ground in America.
Nothing. It hasn't been recreated. And
if it is, it's not of that caliber the way that it is.
Not at all. But you know what? It makes sense because I'm like, why would they build these coils so deep into the earth like that? But you have to think a structure like the pyramids is probably so heavy that you'd have to figure out a way to stop it from sinking into the ground over years. But then I'm like, okay, well, if that's the case, what's under it? What's under it? Okay,
that or shifting.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna take myself off stage, GMS.
Yep. I got you.
If you want me to share something before I go off, I gotta go get this coffee from downstairs, y'all.
Yeah, I could share. You could share this. Let's see. Share the screen. I'll play this for you, and then I'll talk about it a little bit. All right, y'all. This is a CNN clip of some of the declassified things, but it's not going to.
You actually did share new declassified reports with our team, and they detail intelligence on UFOs resembling something like a tic tac going all the way back to 1947. You had a CIA report from 1953 says Swedish airline pilots encountered a silver or white flying lozenge traveling at high speed.
I think the fact that you have pilots separated by decades, if not generations, reporting the same type of observations, describing the same, what is essence, the same object, a 40-foot long, whether it's a white flying butane tank or a white flying tic tac or a white flying lozenge. At the end of the day, they're describing the same thing.
I don't know why this old elementary ass Rugrats music is playing, but y'all can see it right here. Y'all can read across. Y'all can read the lines. Now, here's the thing. Here's another reason why I wanted to bring that up. Part of this first part was trying to explain why a lot of people deal with the same instances or why a lot of people see the same things. What's crazy to me when I see this stuff is it's not necessarily the story, but it's how a lot of these things start off. Like if you've ever seen any documentaries or anything like that of people that claim they've got abducted, do I truly believe that people have gotten abducted? I don't know. But it does kind of have a weird, eerie feeling when a lot of people have described the same type of things that they went through, that other people went through. And in these times, we didn't have social media to where people can go online and see somebody talk about something. They try to mimic the story. This is not the same thing. So a lot of people didn't know that other people were experiencing these things. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these people didn't have the same news stations to go look at, the same ad or the same local, news stations and shit like that. A lot of these people went through a lot of the same instances, and it made me feel like there might be some validity to that. But at the same time, I wouldn't even know where to start to even think about the world if something like that was to actually happen to me, if I was to get abducted in some type of way, shape, or form. I don't know how I could live on in life the same way, looking at people the same way, looking at life the same way, responsibilities. Like if something like that is happening, we're doing all this shit for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we really doing?
Hold on now, GMS, fill me in.
So part of this CNN video right here, they were just talking about these like pill-shaped UFOs, and it was part of like the declassified. I didn't really go into the actual like declassified thing. I really more so played it to talk about like people seeing the same things and kind of segueing into people who allegedly have been abducted. Like I've watched certain documentaries about people who said they've been abducted, and the timeline of certain things, and it's hard for me to fully believe that somebody got abducted, but at the same time, I don't put nothing past nothing, because you never know what the fuck have happened.
Okay. So when I was, I want to say 16. So I used to be on probation, right? Used to be on probation. And it wasn't nothing crazy, y'all. I just used to fight all the time. So I landed myself like a 2-year probation sentence. But my problem was I wasn't like a drug addict. I wouldn't call myself an addict. It was just every time it was time for me to take a drug test, I would fail my drug test.
It just so happened around the time you had to take the drug test.
But I genuinely wasn't like an addict or addicted. Like it would be a situation where I would socially be, smoking weed, or, at that time, kids, we would pop pills and all that,
Yeah.
So they sent me to this, like, okay, first I went to this rehab and this was like a real druggy like rehab. And I was like, baby, I'm not these crackheads here. And they saw that. Like the rehab facility actually like released me early. I failed another drug test and they sent me to like this alternative drug program, right? Where they focused on like the brain. And I kept trying to tell them, like, I'm not like, I can quit. This is just all coincidence. But you know, of course, they don't believe you. Like, they never believe you, right? But like, I was there with grown women. It's crazy because I was a kid still. And like, they had several of them had these like abduction stories, and they used to talk about these lights. They were like, they got abducted and like there was these lights spinning around them. But I remember like listening to that as a kid and being like, yeah, these women are batshit crazy.
Yeah.
They were fun though. They were super fun though. That's what I'm saying. That was cool. They were cool, you know. And then they had like mental disorders, so it made what they were saying seem like not credible. But now as I've gotten older, I'm like, were they crazy for real, or like, did this stuff happen? I don't know.
Well, because then, you know, it
Hey,
brings me to
real
think.
quick.
Oh, yeah,
Hold on. Let me acknowledge. Hey, Cha-Cha girl, thank you for dropping in. Yes, girl, get to the money. Okay, go ahead.
It made me think about the thing that they were saying about Kanye. I forgot exactly what they said, the whatever program or something like that, to where they like make people go crazy and try to discredit them or something like that. It's something where it's yeah. So they're basically saying that is what happened with Kanye. And you think about what could be the possibility of that happening with somebody who was allegedly abducted. You know, what if they were really in that space? And then it made me think about what Jamal just said up here. Jamal Johnson, he said, do you think a distinction needs to be made being between abduction and rapturing into the spirit revelation style? Can't take that out the equation. So now that brings up a whole different conversation of, okay, somebody actually physically being taken from where they are and then brought to some spaceship and probe. Like, a lot of these people end up in the same exact spot they were in. And a lot of these people, when they do talk about it, they speak on feeling what some people may even describe sometimes as sleep paralysis. Not is it sleep paralysis, or what is the sleep paralysis monster? You know, those type things.
I've heard of that. That sounds so scary.
It does. And I had a really good friend of mine that actually went through that a lot, you know, back in the day. So it made me think like that's probably some of the things that people may have experienced, instead of actually, because, you know, when people hear abduction, people are thinking that somebody is physically being taken or being abducted through their fucking roof or something like that into a spaceship. And in reality, it could just be something that crosses spirit realms in that sense.
I kind of, okay. So like, I hear what y'all are saying. I don't necessarily, besides the means of the abduction, I don't necessarily see a difference, because if you think the spiritual world is real and it's tangible, right? Because I kind of think of it like this, like, it's real, it's just it's in a different dimension, it's not accessible to us, right? So it's like, what's if it's real, if both situations can be real, tangible things, then like, what's necessarily the difference besides the medium of it? You know, like, it could be it's still a real, very real experience. I kind of tend to lean on the side of like, it's more of a physical abduction, unless there are something. For example, I think there are certain herbs, and this is not just my opinion. There are certain herbs that you can use on this earth that can help you cross over. Let's say it's just spiritually cross over into different dimensions, right? LSD, ayahuasca, things like that, you know, to where you actually need a shaman to guide you through that. And like, there have been several people who have made these claims or who have experienced the same thing. So I think both can exist at the same time. I think you could actually be having like physical alien abductions, and I also think that you could have people who are crossing over into different dimensions and interacting with different spirits and deities. Guys, if y'all are just now coming in, please hit the like button. I have my special guest GMS on today. I want to hold on. Let me catch up with some of the comments. Hi, Avenue P. You can tell he's about to share some wild stuff by his whole demeanor. Oh, that must have been earlier.
Yeah, the dude from the video that I shared.
Okay. Well, someone said, I think it's a group. Think so. Us as a society have been made to denigrate Black people, not giving them the credit they deserve. Well, someone, I don't think it's a denigration of Black people to say that no human on earth built the pyramids.
Yeah.
Like, there are an abundance of things. You know, I used to teach history. We can talk about Musa Mansa. We can talk about all the gold and artifacts. And I mean, you don't even have to go back to ancient Africa. There are certain African cultures today that, in my opinion, should be highly respected, right? In terms of culture, family structure, safety. Like, we don't have to go that far back to find very respectable African civilizations with people who are smart, highly advanced, and hustlers who get to the money, who are great minds. So it has nothing to, for me, it has nothing to do with the denigration of Black people. For me, it's a seeing beyond the ego of our humanity and understanding what we presently are and are not capable of. Now, if you want to say, if you want to say there was an advanced civilization, you know, of African Americans back then, okay, I'm willing to hear that. But like, you have to be able to explain it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be able to explain it.
Like, I get what he's saying. I get what he's saying, but I don't think it applies to this situation because we're talking about non-human beings building something that can't be achieved by human beings. So it's not even a sense of we're trying to denigrate or trying to minimize the accomplishments or anything that Black people can do. It's just simply no human on earth was able to do what we see or what we have discovered to be what's underneath those pyramids.
There have been arguments that have been made because, you know, the earth is like energy, right?
Yeah.
So there have been arguments that have been made that like we kind of split off technologically, that we kind of split off into two different, I don't want to say timelines, but like before there was some type of major cataclysm that set us back, that the ancient humans back then knew how to work with elements, right? Elemental energy. So for example, the poles, that energy, gravity is an energy. Air, wind, there's so many forces, friction, there's so many forces on this earth that we don't necessarily see. We can't touch them, but the energy is there. There have been theories that human beings used to know how to use energy. You know, now we use like not energy, electricity. Like now we use coils and things as a medium for energy. But there has been an argument made that humans used to be able to work with elemental energy, kind of like how benders do in like Avatar. I know this sounds super nerdy. But like for whatever reason, we lost access to that technology. Like we just stopped doing it. Going back to what y'all are saying about religion, I do believe that religion has been used to keep us out of the knowledge of how to access certain energies. So for example, like I wholeheartedly believe that magic is real. Like, and not in this like fake, you know how people be like, I'm a witch now, and it's
like the
no,
mythological type things.
No, I believe it's real. Did you watch Game of Thrones?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so do you remember how in George R.R. Martin's storytelling, he basically put out the theory that, like, and it's even in Game of Thrones, because it takes a while for us to get to the magic. I mean, they go several seasons in Game of Thrones with absolutely no magic, right? But like the theory is that humans once had access to knowledge, but they shut it off and made it exclusive to like the maesters. So after a while, people forget how to use the magic, and then they begin to think that it's fake because it's being talked about as theory in myth. You know, that's, you know, Greek mythology, things like that. So after a while, you can't even get people to believe in it, let alone learn how to practice it.
Right.
So I believe it is possible that these pyramids were constructed through what we would see, what we would consider, if we saw it, magic. But it's really a different medium of technology. Like, it's technology using energy.
And then the way that you said, like, certain things were cut with laser precision.
We don't even have lasers that can do that. Yeah, we don't even have lasers that can do that now. We don't have lasers like the precision in which they're cutting. They cut those like bricks. We can't do it. We can't replicate it. And we can 3D print now.
That's the crazy part too. Printing 3D guns, 3D shoes, 3D anything. We got a whole 3D piano at Paisley right now that they made for Prince and shit. The whole grand piano, like, you can 3D print anything, but yet we don't have the technology to do what is underneath them pyramids. So
facts. But like, imagine you showed a caveman 3D printing today. Like, let's say he like somehow got into a time machine or a time warp and came here today, and they saw the 3D printing. This man would be like, these are witches and warlocks. These are magicians. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be mind blowing.
Yeah.
Being able to talk to somebody that lives on the other side of the world through this phone, like, this is the equivalent of a wand to them. You know how people use a wand as a medium for magic? It's just an object. Like, this would be the equivalent of like a wand for somebody who was in the Stone Age.
That imagine if we did travel back in time and had our phones, our smartphones on us. They would have tried to burn us at the stake.
No, facts. No, we would have been you would have been called a warlock or something. Okay, I want to go. Hold on, give me 1 second. I want to head over to TikTok now. I want to say this before I pull up these videos. And I had a student last year. This was when I was in DeSoto, Texas. I had a high school student who was very calm. He wasn't the prankster type of kid, but he used to always kind of come like tell me things on the low, because he was a really like kind of, I don't want to say soft spoken, but he was a gay boy. So he was more kind of to his, he's a gay boy. We're at an all black school. So he was like kind of more reserved to himself, but he would come tell me things, So I always got the tea from him. But anyway, he came in my classroom one day when nobody was in there. He came in there and he was like, "Miss Brown, I got to show you something." And I was like, "What?" So he showed me him recording his backyard, and there were like 3 orbs. There were 3 orbs flying in the sky, and they weren't like, and I was like, what the heck? What is that? Like, I couldn't explain it. It wasn't like lasers. You know how sometimes those kids have lasers and they project them. It wasn't that. I know what that looks like. I'm a teacher. They used to do that all the time in my class. They weren't drones. I haven't seen any drones like it. It was just so weird. And I was like, what the hell? So so he sent it to me, and I don't know what I did with the video. Now it sounds like a fake story, but it was very much real. And like, you could tell he was genuinely a little bit like, oh my God, like he was a little bit terrified. Well, Since then, there have been countless videos of these type of orbs being put out into the internet. And I want to show some video footage of different like UFOs that have recent, like these are recent stories that have been put out on TikTok.
Okay.
Hold on. Before I get there, let me look at the comments. I've been through that. You go into another world and into the third person, you can see yourself. Wow. Maybe that's kind of like astral projection. We got to get into that one day. What time do you have to leave, GMS?
Around 6:40.
Okay, we got a little time.
You got to make a couple runs before 3Gs.
Oh, I'm not even sharing it. Okay, so this is some weird type. It looks like a cloud, but upon further investigation, it looks more. It looks like super gaseous. Hold on. Let me make sure y'all can see. Okay.
It hits the moon coming out.
Nah, that's like a portal.
No, Auntie Jenna. Oh wait, hold on.
It's a portal.
No, that's crazy. That is crazy. Oh my god.
You'll see it's like spinning.
Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like I thought it was a cloud, but if you look at it closely, I don't know if y'all can see it is spinning. Like it's swirling. It's a swirl, you know, kind of like when you let the water out your bathroom. So it's like this.
Oh my god.
And this, can I point to it?
No, it stopped spinning for a minute.
It's like in the middle of it. You see? And now the dust is disappearing. Do y'all see that?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Wait.
It's aliens.
It's aliens.
That is the alien.
She's so for real. Because now the dust cloud around it is gone.
That's a UFO.
So,
oh my god, but it's moving.
It's not a cloud. It's clearly something that's in motion, rapidly in motion, you know? Because a cloud doesn't behave that way.
And that's crazy. You know, one of the things,
wow.
one of the things that people like to say is that these are, you know, aircrafts that the government have been testing out on, you know, and using on society. And the best way that they can use it is, you know, having people believe it's a UFO just to throw off the scent that they're creating new, you know, technology and different ways to not just spy on people, but to, you know, kind of build some type of new world order type shit in advanced technology. I don't know what it is, but that stuff, I don't think we could ever attribute that to, you know, the government trying to do X, Y, and Z. I think there's a lot of stuff that they have no control over.
I think two things can be true. And the reason why I do believe that the government is trying to figure out how to use this situation to their advantage is because I don't know if you remember, was this last year, at the beginning of last year? CNN, I mean, they came out and admitted on CNN, on reputable news sources, right?
Yeah.
The officially reputable news sources, that these UFOs do in fact exist. They've had Senate hearings on them. I mean, you could anybody can go on YouTube and look them up, to people admitting that these things actually do exist, right? But why now? Why do you spend since Roswell calling people crazy and then all of a sudden feel that it's advantageous to admit that people have been telling the truth this whole time? I don't think that they're doing it out of being good Samaritans. There's this guy, what's his name? Bob Lazar, who came out, he was on Joe Rogan too, who said that he worked in a program where they were back engineering alien technology, but like it was so secretive that like you only worked on the part that you were working on. So they didn't actually know what they were making. He had no, you know, and it's kind of like over time, he kind of like was able to piece certain things together. But, you know, I think they have been back engineering this technology for a long time. And of course, now they need a cover for technology that we actually do possess. But I do believe the technology is alien in origin as well.
Yeah, do you think that because there's been movies like that where there's been like some type of alien invasion, the humans were getting their ass kicked, and then they ended up defeating one of them and capturing some of their technology, and then kind of conforming that technology with human technology and trying to use it to their advantage. Do you think that the whole area, first and foremost, do you think Area 51 and that whole situation is real? Like the whole situation behind Area 51 where UFO crashed there and they kind of like have locked down that site?
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
So I believe that as well, and I also believe that has been the reason why you can't go through there. It's not even possible for anybody to really cross that line, is because that probably is the space where they are taking whatever technology or whatever crashed there, whatever equipment that they have confiscated from that crash to try to use to help advance their technology, not just for experiment's sake, but of course they're human. They have selfish desires, which is war and different things to try to use against the opposition.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a situation. I believe Bob Lazar said that that's where he worked in Area 51. They just kind of called it something different.
Yeah.
But I'll say I feel like it could be several things. It could be that countries want to back engineer this technology so that we can use it against other countries. It could also be that we feel like we need to gain this in case we do get invaded by aliens. But I mean, honestly and truly, I mean, if there are alien civilizations out there that are that far advanced, if they really wanted to do something to us by now, they could have did it.
Right.
So it's kind of like you're racing. If you genuinely feel like there's an alien threat out there, then we're racing against the clock. And why would they let us catch up to them? So I feel like I feel like it might not necessarily be malicious, or they might not necessarily have malicious intentions. Because if they wanted to like take this whole planet over, they probably could already.
I mean, if they was as smart as the public perception believes they are, they see that we already doing a good job destroying ourselves. Why do they need to do anything?
I mean,
anything at all.
They might just be watching us. Honestly and truly, I think we just might be a case study to them, because that would be interesting. Like, imagine you come from an advanced civilization and you want to see how society has developed over time, and then you have this society that's far more primitive than yours. Well, all you'd have to do is watch them, kind of like how people go and watch monkeys and gorillas and just kind of observe them from afar.
It's crazy you say that, because as wild and crass South Park is, they actually depicted something like that in one of their episodes. They depicted an entire an alien civilization that is literally watching America, or watching the world, the entire world, as like a reality show. And they comment on it and they talk about it, and it's like different stuff going over here in the Middle East and stuff going on in America. Like, they just watching what's going on and just kind of just enjoying the show.
This would be like the best show, because imagine you come from a civilization that's not as emotion driven. Like, do you remember did you used to watch Star Trek, and there was
I watched some of that.
Yeah, the Vulcans, the ones with the pointy ears, and they were like an emotionalist. Like, they made everything, all their decisions based on rational calculations. But imagine you come from a Vulcan type society and you're watching the things that we do.
Yeah,
you're like, this is very interesting. Or why did they do that? Like, it has to be the best reality show ever. Imagine an alien watching baddies. Wow.
They would be like, what's the use of even, they probably want to come here just to try to see that shit, like, in person. Like, oh, we made it here, we just want to see America, we want to see what humans do, or we want to go over here or in Europe and see what they do over there. Avenue P said that was Rick and Morty. No, it was Rick and Morty too, but South Park definitely had an episode. I remember it because they had an alien that looked like a taco that was shitting out ice cream. So it was South Park for sure. South Park was the first to do it. they were definitely
That is funny. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Okay, Will Tumblin said, that's what I'm saying, but there could have been an event like Noah's Ark, if you will, that destroyed the civilization. So Will Tumblin is saying that African people did it, right? Like built the pyramids, and that there could have been an event that wiped the original Africans out. Well, I mean, that's a good argument to make. That it's possible, right? And again, there are archaeologists who are putting forth that information that not just in Africa, but in other places, that there was a cataclysmic event that wiped the advanced civilization out. So what you're saying is possible. We just don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just don't know. This is all speculation.
Yeah.
But even then, let me ask y'all something. Maybe this is a topic for a different conversation, because me personally, I don't identify myself with ancient Africans, because my mother came from my slavery ancestors. They came from West Africa. So I don't be understanding why y'all be going so hard identifying with Egypt like that. So I don't know. Maybe this is another topic for another conversation. I don't know. But you know, my ancestors were West African. They had nothing to do with nothing over there in Egypt.
That sounds more ancestral based.
Yeah.
I do have a question also. Do you think, that we have extraterrestrial beings living amongst us today, like just walking around is normal, like, or what they would call I don't know why they use this term, but they call them skin people or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Skinwalkers, yeah.
It's possible. Do y'all remember that incident that went viral where that lady was like, she was on a plane and she was like, that motherfucker is not real.
Oh yeah. That
motherfucker is not real. To me, she didn't seem crazy. Then I remember they put out first of all, what race did that woman look like in the video?
She looked like she was white.
She looked like a white woman. Straight up and down. They put out a video of a woman like apologizing, taking responsibility and apologizing for the incident. The lady was like Latina and had an accent.
What? I didn't see that.
I'm like, let me try to find it.
Man, no, the way she was talking in that video, she definitely seemed like a white woman.
Let me see. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can find it. You know what? I have other stuff I want to get to. Damn. Okay, hold on. GMS, we're gonna have to do a part 2 because I know you're on limited time and I want to talk about other stuff. We'll get to it again and I'll bring it up. I don't know if you want to come back next. We can work it out. Because I already have stuff, because I'm like, it's gonna take me some time to find it, but it's true. So let's pin it. And I need time to like find this. But yes, and I was like, why? What are they trying to do? I think she saw something. I think she meant what she said when she said it.
I saw a lot of people echo those same sentiments when that happened. There were people who were like, yeah, y'all want to say she's crazy, but it didn't seem like she was off no drugs or no shit like that. She looked like she was looking at something.
She was freaked out. She was genuinely freaked out, right? And yeah, I don't think she was on nothing either. Okay, so you remember the video that we just watched of like the little gas swirly thing? Mm-hmm. Here's a similar thing. This happened also in Florida. So the first video was in Florida. This is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida as well. Same thing. It looks like a cloud.
What am I looking
I'm looking at it and it's gas that's moving.
What the hell?
And in the middle, you can see like a darker ball. The gas is disapparating. What the hell is this?
What?
Look, same thing. Gas is disapparating. So this is both in Florida, 2 separate cities, same incident.
What the hell?
That's ridiculous.
These are clearly not clouds. I'm going to show you another incident. Okay. Now, normally I'll be like, okay, this might be fake if it just happens in one place. But when I see them happening in different places and the UFOs look similar, I'm like, oh, there's something to this. Okay. So this is in Colombia this year.
¿Qué carajos?
El domingo 2 de marzo de 2025, 2 residentes de la localidad de Buga, en Colombia, se convirtieron en testigos de un evento extraordinario que podría perfilarse como uno de los más importantes de la historia. Ese día, en un punto de la ciudad, la primera testigo, a quien solo se le identifica con el nombre de María, registró con su teléfono celular los extraños movimientos de una esfera que levitaba muy cerca de su...
So, do y'all see this? This is like a little orb, but it's like not an orb that's glowing. It's like a sphere. It's like a ball, you know, and this is not beyond the scope of human technology because I'm sure you could make a drone like this, right? I just haven't seen one like that, but it's coming really close down on, onto land.
Su posición. Incluso se logra observar cómo en 2 ocasiones toca tierra e intenta elevarse.
Y un globo no es.
De acuerdo con la información disponible, los movimientos erráticos de la esfera serían el resultado de una descarga de 10.000 voltios que ésta recibió al entrar en contacto con cables de alta tensión ubicados en la parte alta de un cerro que rodea la localidad de Buga. La descarga generaría que la esfera se volviera inestable, presentando movimientos que sugieren que intentaba elevarse sin lograrlo plenamente. En otro sector de la ciudad de Buga, un segundo testigo también registró los desplazamientos de la esfera en el cielo, la cual, como se ha mencionado, intentaba elevarse sin éxito.
So this happened in one part of the city and then in another part of the city. So it wasn't an isolated event.
Descendiendo bruscamente cada vez que lo intentaba. En un momento particular de esta segunda grabación se puede observar incluso cómo un ave se aproxima a la esfera y se aleja rápidamente, aparentemente sorprendida o repelida.
Okay, so my whole thing is if this is a drone, normally drones, you can see a propulsion system on them. So y'all know those little drones that like, they're kind of like flat and they have like 4 spinny wheels on them. You can see how they're being propelled. It's not a mystery. How do you propel a ball? What is the propulsion system on that?
Yeah, unless you had components that, to the blind eye, you had many little holes at the bottom to ventilate whatever propeller. But I don't think that's even that thing is too shiny spherical for it to see something like that. I don't even think that's even a thing.
Yeah, unless again, it's got to be.
It's not a balloon.
It's not a balloon. It's got to be some type of technology that we don't know about. Why a small town in Colombia? What's the purpose? I don't know. If this is like some type of government thing, why Buga, Colombia? Nobody has ever even heard of this place. I'm in Colombia and I never heard of this place.
That's the thing. You probably there to be incognito.
Yeah, but what's the reason?
Right.
Like my point is, like, yeah, you're trying to be incognito, but why are you trying to be incognito? Why is it up there to begin with? Okay, so I would have normally thought, okay, this is fake, but we see a second object that looks identical to the one in Colombia in San Diego, California in 2021.
Aliens. What is that flying in the sky?
Y'all see, it's a little ball. Same thing.
aliens.
This one just didn't go down as far, but it's a little sphere. It's similar in color, similar in shape. What is that?
And it's moving the same way it was in the previous spot that it was in.
Yes. Okay. Now I want to show y'all this video. I know this video isn't fake because I've seen several people cover it. Kim Iverson touched on this. So this is a real video. I don't know if you've seen this. I'm going to go ahead and play it so that y'all can see. Now, y'all know, like this was a plane that disappeared. And I'm going to like watch and pay attention to what happens.
This next one is one of the scariest UFO videos I've ever seen. And I have a little history with this one. It's actually becoming very popular right now. I've seen it trending all over Twitter and Reddit. I saw it on Facebook, everywhere. I've seen it everywhere. But it's actually a very old video. This, look, here's one orb. Sorry, I will go into it. One of the orbs just showed up. Here's the other. Bam, here's the third. This video I saw around 2012, 2014. I think it was 2014, right around the time that the Malaysian flight 370 disappeared. And many are speculating this is that flight. This video did come out around that time, as did a few other things that were very strange. But I can't guarantee that this is that flight. But I can tell you that this video
did y'all see that?
is
Did y'all see
genuine.
that?
I remember when it first came out, people trying to debunk it.
So basically there were 3 orbs. And if y'all go on Kim Iverson's show, I just didn't want to dig through that. She has a video and it's more blown up and you can see. So the plane is flying by itself. And then these 3 orbs come, they encircle the plane and they just rotate around the plane. And then boom, zap, the plane disappears. Never to be seen from or heard from again. Yep. I'm gonna show y'all the end of it again. Just in case you missed it.
Did come out around that time. As did a few other things that were very strange. But I can't guarantee that this is that flight. But I can tell you that this video
it's gone. Where's the plane?
Genuine. I remember when it first came out.
So again, I've seen this featured on several different news outlets. And my whole thing is, where did the plane go? And that's why I say sometimes these TV shows like Manifest and things like that, where these planes go somewhere or go off into another dimension, I think that stuff is real.
And we can't act like there haven't been reports in the past about planes ending up missing. Where did they go? Why did they just end up off the radar? Just abruptly off the radar.
Planes, ships.
Yep.
Okay, we can get into the Bermuda Triangle. Like, so many things have just like and it's unexplainable what happened, or they can't hear anything to suggest, like when they go back and listen to the audio or the tapes, they can't hear anything to suggest that the pilot was in distress. Like the disappearances were seemingly out of nowhere.
They
so
just
it's
shifted
like
their focus on that one lake in is it California? That one lake where people can't swim in, that they disappeared. What is that? I forgot what that lake was called.
It's in Cali.
I think it's in Cali. I think it's somewhere out in California. Somebody might know what I'm talking about. It's some lake that people swim in and they end up drowning. And they literally they're making a movie out of it.
What?
Yeah. And
my whole thing is, with the lake, it's a little bit difficult to kind of like prove. I do think that there are entities in the water that I do believe it. Like, I do believe there are entities in the water that we don't know about. Like, think about it. The ocean is so big and vast and diverse. I also do believe, because I've also seen a video. See, we're going to have to do a part 2.
Yeah.
I also have seen a video where some military soldiers saw a UFO dipping in and out of the water, of the water. So I think there is stuff in these waters, whether they be spiritual or whether they be physical beings that we don't know about. I think there are portals in these waters. I truly believe that advanced civilizations don't see us as a threat at all, which is why they haven't done anything to us, like watching baboons in a zoo. Of course, yeah. I mean, and here's the thing, we're genuinely not a threat. Most of us don't even know they exist. And if they, like, we haven't even landed, like, humans haven't even landed on Mars yet. Like, even if we were a threat, we're not thinking about them. They're not on our radar. And I'm talking about as a society, and we can't do anything to them. If we did know about
Well, like I
them,
said
so
earlier, like with the universe being as big as they say it is, what makes us think that especially with the different type of crafts that we have been seeing over time, different UFOs that we have seen in different shapes and different forms that they have, what is it that, you know, it could be different beings from different places, different universes coming over here to see if we are a threat. It doesn't have to be the same thing. It could be different things coming and being curious about this planet because it's life forms here, and they probably come here and be like, oh, well, their technology isn't as advanced as ours, where they can come check us out. They clearly aren't a threat to us. Like, we'll go search it and go look around and see what we can find and then get up out of here. You know, I don't think it's important to them.
I mean, the only thing I can think of that might be interesting to them, that might be perceived as a threat, is that we have nuclear weapons, right? So I guess if everything in space is like interdependent on each other, and at one point we had enough nukes to blow up the Earth 5 times, like that would affect the solar system. But even that I can't really see that being a reason, because if us with our primitive technology can blow up a planet 5 times, I'm sure they have the capability. They have, like, think about Star Wars and Death Star technology, right? Yep. And not just that, things in space blow up all the time. Our sun will eventually blow up, you know?
Yeah.
So that to me, that wouldn't be reason enough. Okay. Let's see. I need to get up with you, Mariah, to give my opinion on the witches from my perspective, living out there for 4 years and as a teacher. Do you have my Instagram? Please, follow me on Instagram. If you don't, it's in the description box, and send me a message, because I'm serious. But I do think ancient civilizations had a better understanding and relationship with both the alien and spiritual world, including God. I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. I think that we lost a lot of knowledge, right? GMS looked like he makes soup for 3 strippers and a priest. Wow, crazy.
Will's random jokes.
Hi, Avenue P. Never mind. I remember the Rick and Morty episode, but I remember South Park did something like it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I identify with Egyptian slaves. Ahem. Okay. Okay. Right. And that's another thing I don't get. Why y'all be identifying with the Egyptians so much, but y'all don't like that white folks were slave owners, but the Egyptians were slave owners? Why do y'all want to identify with them?
Because they fits was harder.
Maybe
had more
that's
jewelry.
what I'm saying.
They was flashy with it.
Yeah, is that it? Because I'm like, if we do not let up on white people about owning slaves, even though slavery still exists around the world, even though every civilization still has slavery, including Africans. If you go to Africa, they still sell people into slavery in Africa, right? The black folks over there participated in that, boo. They were willing participants. Why do we feel the need to identify with Egyptians?
It might be even more of a spiritual realm too, them spiritually. I don't think there was nothing spiritual about white American slave owners. They were just kind of just evil with it. I mean, all of them were evil. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the other shit wasn't evil. I think it's just like I said, they made it look a certain way when, as far as presentation, like the slavery part aside, what the whole representation of that is, like, people see that and want to mimic that.
I mean, but my whole thing is, I think it's the movies that have programmed us to think that the white people were worse about it. Because do y'all think that other slave owning civilizations don't grape their slaves? Or do y'all think, I mean, even when we think back to like Egyptian slavery, let's say they made the slaves build these sphinx and pyramids. Like, let's just indulge that. Like, white people never made black people, like, black folks was picking cotton. Imagine you gotta build a whole sphinx. You feel me? Like, I think we gotta put things into perspective here. They was over there building sphinxes in the damn desert in the heat.
You couldn't chip a rock. You couldn't chip a block, or else your ass was grass.
Yes.
You have to move all that shit with precision.
Yes, and these are cultures that believed in eye for an eye and couldn't. So it's like, to me, it's not really a difference, in my opinion. You know, you had even if you go back to those stories in the Bible where the Egyptians with Moses, where they drowned all the baby Hebrews. Like, come on now, y'all, come on, let's be so for real here. Like, I don't necessarily see the need to identify with them.
Yeah, we definitely gonna have to do a part 2 because now I gotta skip out, but I do want to say I appreciate you for having me on, because I definitely want to come back on and continue on these conversations, and a lot of other conversations too. If you want to have me come on for whatever, even when we talk about entertainment, I'm down for it. So just let me know.
I'm for real. I'm gonna hit you up to see if you have some availability next week, and we can finish this up, and that will give you some time to like get whatever you want to get together. We need to come on. You need to come on a time where we can chop it up for like a couple hours.
Yeah.
Where you don't got to go on three Gs.
Oh yeah, we'll make it happen. I'm usually, like I said, I'm usually off on Tuesdays, or if you want to do like a night show on like a weekend or something like that, we'll make that happen.
Like a Saturday or something. Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, it was good having you on. What time does 3G start again? At 7?
8 o'clock. 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Okay. Well, I will be over there, guys. I'm gonna stay on for about, I want to say 20 minutes longer, because I have some things I want to talk about. But okay, GMS, thank you so much.
Appreciate you. Peace out, chat. Thank you, Mariah.
Bye. Okay, guys. So let me get to these comments. Not my thing is frozen. Hold on, y'all. Okay, what are you saying, Jamal? We're jealous of our slave owners, the Egyptians, white Americans, the Babylonians, etc. We're typically enslaved by world dynasties, and we possibly got the best deal with the US and the UK. I mean, the stuff that I be hearing going on, and again, it's not even just, you got to think about it like this. You know, I'm from Dallas, Texas, right? There are slaves there. If you go to those massage parlors, there are women who are SMEGS slaves there. So you got women who are indentured to these massage parlors who are getting raped every single day. Asian women every single day. I'm gonna do a whole episode on the tunnels under the United States. A woman that used to work in infrastructure for the government came out and confirmed that these underground tunnels and cities do in fact exist. And I've been talking about them. Y'all sounding like a crazy person. We're not even going to talk about the people who are enslaved underneath the tunnels. So, you know, I kind of look at it differently, y'all. I don't necessarily look at this stuff from a race perspective. I look at it as like a power dynamics perspective. You know, people wanting to exploit others so that they can enrich themselves or indulge in their weird deviancy. So, let's continue though with what the rest of this that I was going to show. Okay, so this was in El Paso, Texas. So this is very small. Y'all probably can't even see it. I'm gonna take this off. There are like little orbs moving. Let me see. Okay, there's some other orbs here in Texas. And these are moving. It's just very strange, guys. So y'all tell me, what do y'all think in the comments? Hold on, give me 1 second. Remove. Well, it's a power dynamic. White people have all the power. It's not. Why are Will's tumbling? my brother, why do you think white people have all the power? White people have a facade of power. Okay. Do you know I've been around Arab people? Y'all, one time I like, this was a situation where, how do I explain it? Try to be careful about what I say on YouTube. But there are Arab people who will tell you $1 billion ain't shit. $1 million ain't shit. Or $1 billion ain't shit. I literally sat with an Arab man who had so much money that he told me $1 billion ain't shit. I think because of what has been portrayed to us on social media, that we think that white people have the most money, that white people rule and run the world. No, I think you got to understand, before the Europeans even branched out, and they had to colonize the Americans because the Chinese and the Arab people had the Eastern Hemisphere on lock. But even now, they have so much money. And participate, again, other races participate in slavery today in 2025. They participate in slavery. They sell African slaves. They buy African slaves. The billionaires all have tunnels underneath their houses because of global calamities and SMEGs trafficking, possibly organs too. Yeah. I mean, if you're super duper rich and you find out, you've drank yourself into oblivion, are you going to be on some type of wait list for an organ, or are you just going to go buy one off the black market from somebody that took it out of a child or something? Hi, Justin Furlow. Welcome. Wealthy people have the power. Yes, this is about wealth. It's not about race. And I think it's really important for Black people to get out of that mentality, because then you start having a mentality that we all, first of all, you don't see when there's good people in other groups because you've demonized somebody just because of the color of your skin and your perceived like oppression that they're causing, and then you don't see the terrible people that exist within your own group. For example, I say this all the time, like, I don't understand how Black people get upset when they be like, oh, they're just trying to tear down our Black celebrities like Jay-Z and Beyonce and P. Diddy. And it's like, we live vicariously through these people. We're like, yes, we see somebody with that amount of wealth. But it's like, P. Diddy is a monster. He harmed many Black people. And just because he got on, what's the difference between him and an exploitative white person getting power? There's absolutely no different. It doesn't benefit you. So we have to stop thinking like that. I think so too. But wealthy people are mostly white people, especially in the United States. No, I'm gonna disagree with you on that. I think white people have had, this is so complicated because we could even talk about this in terms of like, I'm gonna make y'all mad. I think fuck it, I'm gonna make y'all mad. I don't care. There are white people who came over here with no money. For example, my father's family immigrated here. My father is white. They immigrated here from Germany, and they came from Bavaria. So they were poor white people. They came over here in the industrial age, and they came over here and they started from the bottom, kind of like how a Hispanic or African immigrant would be starting today if they came over here with nothing. They started from a bottom. So they came after slavery. They never owned any slaves. They weren't even in this country when it was legal, right? And they worked their asses off. Nothing was handed to them. They worked their asses off, right? They worked in factories. They lived in immigrant communities where they helped each other. And that was during the time where there was no progressive movement then. There was no Social Security. That didn't come till later on during the FDR's administration, there was no Social Security, there was no housing, there were no grants for soldiers to go get a house. But now, because of the hard work that my dad's family put into, they have, I guess you would say, they're not rich at all. They're like middle class, right? But like they would have more than, I guess, I don't know, because I feel like there are plenty of Black people that have just as much as my dad's family had, to be honest. Like, but some people might look at him and say, oh, he's able to be middle class because he's white, and he was given certain advantages. And it's like, no, that's not necessarily true all the time. Or those rules don't apply to everybody or even the majority of the people. That's not true. White people, not all white people own slaves. You had to have money. That was a rich man's game to own a slave. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons why we went to war over slavery was because a lot of white people were upset that they couldn't get jobs in the South because the rich people did not want to employ anybody. They just wanted to use slave labor. So that's what caused a lot of these great migrations into the North. People had to compete for factory jobs. And yes, even white people had to work for menial wages because the jobs were very few in the South and everybody had to crowd into the East Coast and into California and compete for the same jobs. And not only did they have to compete for the same jobs with other Americans, they had to compete with the Chinese coming in on the West Coast, and they had to compete with the new immigrants coming in from Southern and Eastern Europe at the time. So it's like, I don't understand. I think, hold on, give me a second. I don't see it in terms of race at all. I think we have to learn to think two thoughts at once: Black empowerment as well as power to the people. Blacks are politically diverse as well. Yeah, we are very politically diverse as well. And me personally, I don't think in terms. I used to. I'll be real. I'm not gonna sit here and cap. I used to think in terms of Black empowerment, but like the more that I grew as a person and I started paying attention to people and I started learning more about human nature, the more educated I got about history, the more open I was to other people's experiences versus trying to like throw people into one category or just assume that everybody thinks a certain way, the less I became like that. Now I'm rocking with like-minded people. Okay, so yeah, most of my I was raised on my mom's side of the family, which is Black. I was not raised on my dad's side of the family. Like, I know my dad, right? But I was not raised on that side, right? So don't think I'm over here saying what I'm saying because I was raised by my white father and I have some type of like, undying love and loyalty towards white people. It's not that. I was raised on my Black side. I was raised in Black neighborhoods. My close girlfriends today are Black. Do I have friends of other races? Yes, sure. But I mostly interact with Black people. But again, I don't interact with Black people thinking that I don't interact with Black people and just dismiss their humanness and human nature and just see them as like, see all Black people as like kinfolk and people who love me and have my best interest at heart. I don't put Black people on any higher of a pedestal than I put any other human being that I'm interact with. I watch and observe people and their intentions. So I rock with who is my people. The United States is responsible for about 30% of the world's wealth. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. And again, that's on paper. I believe that the wealthiest people, you don't know that they're wealthy. Just like we don't know them tunnels. Most people don't know them tunnels are underground. We also have to talk about generational wealth also. I mean, we can, but like, again, when we talk about generational wealth, if you have people who came over here after slavery, who never owned slaves, who didn't benefit from slavery, who didn't have shit but the clothes on their back when they came over here from Europe, if you have white people like that, then what is there to talk about when we talk about generational wealth? Because honestly and truly, if you go back, my family on my mom's side of the family, we were not poor Black people after slavery. My mom's side of the family had more. If you go back to 1890, when my dad's family came over here, and you compare the wealth that my family on my mom's side had to my dad's side of the family, they had way more. We did not come from, yes, we came from a lineage of slavery, but there was a period in time during Reconstruction where Black people were able to be on in state senates, where Black people were business owners, where Black people had land. So we had all of that in our family. We had all of that in our family up until my great grandmother's generation, when that didn't have nothing to do with white people. They fucked it all off. So that's why if you come around my family, you will notice, even though like a lot of my family, like in my great grandmother's generation, grew up in like more, I want to say poor neighborhoods, we are not ghetto. Like we're not ratchet. We grew up in those neighborhoods because they messed the wealth off, but we don't behave that way. It's mostly white people who are the people who have generational wealth. I think we're both right. I think there's hold on. But like, I don't think they have generational wealth a lot. Okay, so here's the thing, Will's tumbling. I don't think they have generational wealth because again, we call being middle class wealthy, right? To us, most white people are doing okay. And now in this economy, no. We think because they might have a house. Most white people don't have more than one house to their name. We think because they have a house, a car, a couple cars, they might have a boathouse or something, that they're wealthy. The vast majority of white people don't have generational wealth. It's a lot of white people right now that don't have $500 in their bank account to make it to the next day if there's an emergency. It's a lot of white people out here like that. So when you're saying the vast majority of white people have generational wealth, the vast majority of white people are not even in the top 10%. The vast majority of white people are going paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. And yes, they might have some assets that their family members left them, but a lot of that has to do with what their family valued. A lot of that has to do with cultural practices, if we're just being honest. That's kind of like how Africans come over here. Again, that's another, if we talk about in terms of skin color, they just as black as us. That's just Africans come over here and a lot of them don't have anything, but within a couple generations, they're passing us up. What do they value? Well, they value staying out of jail. They value education. And depending on who it is, fraud. Y'all, my African subscribers, don't cancel me, but y'all know who them Nigerian scammers do be scamming. Okay. I'm an internationalist, not a globalist. Everyone's struggle and everyone's organic accomplishments are celebrated. All oppression is bad. Facts. If you down with me, I'm down with you, regardless of most anything else. That's how I feel about it. I rock with what's in your soul, what's in your spirit. And I can't be holding on to what happened in the past, whether it was the white people that did us wrong, whether I feel like my family fumbled the ball in certain aspects, whether none of that. We can only do with what we can do right now. And like, I love to put this in perspective for African American people. We have so much more. Come here to Colombia. Like, the bottom here is so much worse than in the United States. There are people here that genuinely don't have any opportunity. Like, a black person in America can get a remote job, move to another country, and you can quadruple your wealth. To them, we are just as bad as white people. I'm being honest. They don't make any difference between, for people who are looking at us as oppressors, They don't make any difference between white Americans and black Americans. All they see is you have more opportunity than them. And that's how black people judge white people. We don't care about how their family actually accumulated wealth or how they actually got to the point that they were. All we see is they're a white person, they have more than me, so we envy them, right? And then we attributed everything their family worked for to slavery, even if their family wasn't even here during slavery or never owned slaves or immigrated here way after slavery. Those same prejudices that we have towards white people, when you come to a place like Colombia, people will put it on you and it doesn't feel good. As somebody who's like experienced it, it doesn't feel good because you know your story. You know, like what you had to go through to get the little bit that you do have. So when people are making those assumptions of you, it doesn't feel good at all. But they're not going to understand because all they see is their struggle. All they see is, and this is not all Colombians, I'm talking about the ones that feel like this. All they see is hot water is a luxury. Even in the United States, a poor person that lives in the lowest income housing has hot water. Here, hot water is a luxury, even for some middle class families. All they see is you have access to more, just more varieties and options of food. All they see is we can afford cars, even if we're stuck in loans paying. Like they see that and be like, okay, these people are our oppressors. Genuinely, they do. West African scammers go crazy. Here, same with Tamils. They are the top scammers. You can't beat them at scamming. How bad is drug abuse in Colombia? Real bad. Real bad. And it's not just the Colombian citizens. People come here from other countries just to have access to certain drugs like Tissy. The more you get into the city, the more that it's bad. Now, I live in Envigado. This is a more conservative area. It's more hometown feel, but so this would be like a suburb. Think of this as like a suburb of Medellin, right? Even though it's still a city feel. But if you go into actual Medellin, yeah, it's super bad. You see all type of homeless people and drug addicts on the street, and they don't even have to be on the street. The young people be on drugs heavy, you know. Okay, guys, so I've been on here for like an hour and a half. I think we've kind of like exacerbated our talk about aliens. We've gotten onto something completely different. I wouldn't mind talking about this subject again. It's just kind of like people get upset with me when I start talking about race because I understand it's a touchy subject. I understand a lot of it has to do with ego. That's kind of why I haven't been talking about politics as much lately, because I've noticed, most of my audience is black and most of my audience is black men. But I have women at like 40 something percent. And I feel like as a race, we've gotten to a very dangerous place where we've made a political party a part of our racial identity. And when you make something a part of your identity, then it's like the conversation from there it's ego driven at that point. We can't even talk facts. People get upset with me, and of course I can't cater to everybody's feelings and emotions, but I was like, I don't want to get on here and antagonize y'all every single episode. Will I talk about some of these things? Yes, but just know if you bring this conversation up with me and it's from the perspective of white people bad, black people good, white people oppressed, black people oppressed, white people are the oppressors, and like we are the only persons who were ever affected by slavery or the worst affected by slavery, I'm never going to agree with y'all. I'm never going to agree with you on this. So it's like, just know before y'all bring this up, if you know, and I'm not saying anybody here has gotten upset with me, but if you know that you're going to get upset, don't even bring it up, because I'm not going to agree with you if you come from that perspective. I'm just not. I might just go visit Cali, Colombia. I heard it's very, very fun. I hear mixed reviews about it. I want to go. I heard the music is good, the dancing is good. I heard the food in Cali is better. It's just super hot. But y'all know Cali is more it's more Afro-Colombian than Medellin. So, you know, I heard that the nightlife there is actually better than here. Mariah, you're so right. Thank you for this great live. Well, thank y'all for pulling up, and you know, thank y'all for everybody who showed up. Please make sure that y'all hit the like button on your way out. That helps my message get spread across these YouTube streets. Rico Carvel, this is my first time seeing you. Hopefully, I see you again. I just want to acknowledge you before I left. With that said, guys, y'all have a good night. If you're going to the 3Gs, I will see y'all over there later on at 8. Y'all have a good night. Goodbye.